Tonight we're talking about a disorder affecting 1 in 88 children, more specifically 1 in every 54 boys. It is the fastest growing serious developmental disability in the United States. Every 11 minutes, think about that, every 11 minutes, another family receives the devastating news their child is affected. Autism, it is the focus of tonight's Our Issues Tampa Bay. Hello, I'm Jen Holloway. Parenting a child diagnosed with autism is challenging, to say the least. In our first segment, I'd like you to meet a mother whose life is not only dedicated to her autistic child, but through her experience, she's now helping many other families get the help they need. She's along here with a therapist as well. Welcome Kimmy Fine with pediatric occupational therapist Don Maggie. Ladies, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
You're welcome. We'll start with you, Kimmy. Your story. Tell us about your son. When did you first know that Jacob something was different?
Right. Jacob was actually an identical twin that we lost at 26 weeks. So we were always kind of aware that there might be some issues, that we were told he might have cerebral palsy and some other developmental issues when he was born. So our eyes were always keenly on him. We did really notice when he reached a year old that he wasn't hitting milestones anymore. He wasn't walking. The few words he had learned, he wasn't using anymore. He wasn't pointing. He had no eye contact. So I actually called my uncle, who was a Bay Area pediatrician for many, many years and the head of adolescent medicine at All Children's. And he referred me to a local neurologist, and we did some tests, and they said, well, we think he's autistic. And
did you know what that was?
I had just started hearing about it, but no, I had never met anyone who was autistic. We had no friends that had children, kids with special needs. So he got us to the neurologist. We figured out there's something definitely wrong. We went out to USF, and we also went to Dr. Treatise, who's wonderful, and he's a developmental pediatrician in the area. He did diagnose Jacob finally. It was kind of a long journey at 2.5 years old in March of 2006 on the autistic spectrum. And we started early steps with USF, and actually that's how I met Dawn. Dawn was Jakey's first occupational therapist. So we had a speech therapist and an occupational therapist in Dawn.
Therapy is so important, isn't it?
It is huge. I mean, early intervention is absolutely the best thing for these children.
Don, before we talk about the specific therapies that you're giving these children, what should a parent look for? What are the first signs? Kimmy mentioned a few, but what are some of the other signs that people should look for?
A lot of the signs can vary, but some of the more common ones are lack of eye contact, delayed language, and sometimes delayed motor skills, but not always with the delayed motor skills. It just really varies between children. A lot of times it's very hard to diagnose or see at 1 year old. When they start to expected to have language and to talk around 2 is when a lot of parents really notice, because they have no expressive language or very little.
Wow. So the earlier they get into therapy,
the better.
The better.
Yes. Early intervention in the state of Florida and most states is birth to 3. It's crucial because anywhere from birth to 6, you have the brain and the nervous system, you have neuroplasticity. It's the formative years of development for both the brain and the nervous system. And the sooner we can get in there and transform and rewire things, the better. They're just, they're growing and learning new things every hour of every day. We continue to learn as we get older, but those are the formative years. So extremely, extremely important to make a difference. So it is possible not to necessarily, you can't cure autism, but you can truly turn them around. Yes, and there's unfortunately, there's been different books and different things out there, and which as therapists we really are displeased with, because we don't ever want to give false hope.
Right.
To date, currently there is no cure. However, there are interventions and things out there that we can do that can take a child from, A to Z. Z being they can talk, they can communicate, they can show affection, they can go to school, all these things that the parents thought they would never see happen.
Because when you think that your child may never say, "I love you, mommy," or "I love you, daddy," that's heartbreaking.
It's a huge, huge thing for parents, believe it or not. You know, they say, you know, we want them to talk, but it's also that lack of emotional connection, and it's just because the child isn't able to express it. It's not that they don't feel it or comprehend it, but the parent can't see that from the child, and so there's always tears during those sessions. So it's amazing.
Imagine. Can we talk about some of the therapies that Jacob has gone through?
Well, let's see.
Did you have PT?
We did. We had physical therapy when he was 1.5. He walked that evening. So we were like, okay, he's fine. Nothing's wrong. Then a few months later, we're like, okay, he's not talking. And so we brought in a speech therapist, and she is still very close with Dawn and I, and she introduced us to Dawn because he definitely needed the occupational therapy as well. So that was 1.5, 2 years old. When he was about 3.5, we got him into ABA, which is applied behavioral analysis therapy as well. He could not really talk or anything at that time. They taught him sign language, and he was so fast we could not keep up with him. And within that first year, he was talking. So ABA has been huge. Wow. Yeah, I mean, my child is a completely different child because of it. And we will still struggle. We still have speech. He has severe apraxia as well, so his speech is hard to understand. And as new therapies come about, obviously we're going to look into them as well. But if he had not had the early intervention that he had, he would not be where he is. I mean, he does grade school academic work. He's in regular school, and you know, he struggles. He's behind, but he would not be doing what he's doing now without therapy.
That's amazing. Well, at the end of the show, we're going to put up some information. She's taken the extra step to not only work with her child and get him the programs and therapies he needs, but she started Jacob's Touch Foundation, and Dawn, you're a board member, and you work together with many other families in helping spread the word, helping get them in touch with the organizations they need, and so forth. So we'll make sure that our viewers know all about that. Thank you for being here, and we appreciate your time and your expertise for sure. Up next, we're going to learn more about a new local therapy program that's designed specifically for autistic children. Stay with us.